y'all take us for granted, man. We go through, we be having some stresses on us that y'all don't even know about.
I don't want no misconceptions about me sitting right here. I'm a lifter, lover, cheerleader, and supportive of my kings, my Black kings. I do not take my husband for granted. You would never hear me say Happy Mother's Day on Father's Day, even if he wasn't here, because I understand that I'm raising two African American men.
The misconception is that being a gentleman is just about being polite or courteous to women. In actuality, to be a true gentleman means that you have respect for your fellow man, so it encompasses men and women. Style is something that you evolve into. It's about your personality. It's about how you live your life.
Welcome to the next episode of the Gentleman of Style Show. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Creature, man. I'm excited today. We've got a lovely guest in the building. Well, the virtual building, let me say that. This woman is magnetic. When I say magnetic, she draws you people because she does so much stuff from reality TV, companies that she's built, a mother. I could go on, but what's the need? What's the need? So welcome to today's show on the Gentleman of Style Show. We've got Miss Carla Stephens.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, first and foremost.
It is my pleasure. I am extremely excited and honored, of course, to be here with you, being able to talk about what I love. So it's always an honor. And I always say thank you to those who allow me to come onto their platform, because when you have an audience and you have a platform, we take it very serious. So I feel very honored that I was invited to come and share with you all tonight.
And we are honored to have you. We're honored to have you. Go ahead and start us off, Baldwin. Go ahead and start us off with your question.
Okay. Let's start off with a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally? Are you from Atlanta? Are you from the hood? Was you raised with wolves? I mean, where are you from?
I'm a Georgia peach, and I'm a little bit of everything. I was raised in East Point, Georgia, very, very young. And, but, we've been in Decatur, College Park, all of those places.
East Point, is that, wait a minute.
East Point.
Is East Point, is that Fourth Ward?
No. But it,
East
now
Point,
that's Fourth Ward is more up, I say like northeast or north, that side, but I'm down. East Point is more south, like you're going towards the airport and Macon.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about Fourth Ward now. No, I'm East Point.
No, because I thought the Fourth Ward was like over there where what do you call it? What's over there? It's like right outside of downtown, like right next to downtown.
They have a
Moreland Avenue.
Connect on the. I was about to say it may connect on that end, but I'm on the other side of East.
Down that way. down.
that way, it's close. Like you're going to Macon, Georgia. Yeah, the other side, yeah.
I got you.
Like Greenboro Mall, if you know Atlanta, Greenboro Mall, all those places.
Yeah.
You got to know
You got-
Greenbrier Mall. Got to know Greenbrier Mall.
And I was like a couple streets over from Greenboro Mall.
Oh yeah. You definitely a Georgia peach, man.
Yeah. So born and raised, here primarily. I think we spent like a year in Brooklyn, New York. I was so young, don't really remember it, but pretty much I've been here my entire life and got, of age, I stayed down south up until recently. I'm now in the north side of Georgia, Roswell, Georgia. But just, I'm a fresh Georgia peach.
A fresh Georgia peach.
Fresh Georgia peach. Yeah, some of the peach is not fresh. So, but
Look, I wasn't even gonna make mention of that. I was gonna keep my mouth shut on that.
not all the peaches in Georgia look fresh, honey. Have you ever had a peach with little rotten parts on it? You know how
Got to cut that out.
I am a fresh Georgia peach, and sometimes that happened when you were not actually born here and you kind of came in, and started mixing around, and let me stop.
Well, let me ask you a crazy question. Other than living in Georgia, and other than being in the vicinity of the Atlanta area or any major metropolitan area within Georgia, what makes a Georgia peach? What makes a peach a Georgia peach?
What makes a Georgia peach is I can't speak for inbreds. I'm going to speak for the ones that were born here. First of all, you were born here. This is the original, the OGs. This is what I'll say. You were born here. You're juicy. You're sweet. You understand, and you love the South. You're not faking it about being. You're not faking it about being in the South. You love the South, but you know how to operate like you from the North. So, peaches are savvy. They're smart. And what most of the peaches that I know and that are like me, you see a good, well-rounded, she's a businesswoman, she's a wife, she's a mother. She's able to do it all and not really be sour about it because she's just peachy.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll take that.
You looking for another answer?
Let me tell you, it can't be about no booty because I would not qualify.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about the peach with the little, like how the peach shape, if it has something to do with that.
Oh, no. I was just no, not at all. Not at all. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that until you just said something just now and everything. What's wrong with your booty? What's going on here?
It's not peachy like that, but you know what?
But you working with it.
It's right enough. No, you know what?
You don't have to explain. We can leave it right there. You don't have to even go into that.
Yeah, I love everything about me. I'm a classic peach.
All right, classic.
That's what I like. Good enough. That'll work.
Let's get into this. How did you end up? This is always great. You look very elegant. Business story. How did you get into trucking? How did that all come about?
Well, honestly, my husband. He started, we were both we went to school for fashion marketing, and our initial dream and goal was to one day own a chain of men clothing, because at that time we didn't see a lot of men clothing stores or styles for men. And so in the midst of working that up, we went to fashion marketing school. We started working in retail and in the fashion mart. It just wasn't a lot of money. So I had one of those peachy moments, and I was like, look, you got to take care of us a little bit better than this retail check. So to his credit and to his honor, he went to truck driving school. Go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah. Before you move away from the fashion, the clothing stuff and everything, you said there wasn't a lot of money in it. You're saying that you were just working straight retail, or did you have your own business where you were?
We had actually started. We went to school, got the degree. We were interning at the Atlanta Apparel Mart and working in retail stores like the Limited, like like at Lenox Square Mall in the retail stores, and it just was not enough money to do the things that we were trying to do at that time. And with
Right.
it was a lot of hours. I mean, you know, there's some validity and honor in working from the ground up.
Right.
We're very spiritual people, and we both knew that that was just something that, you know, it was time for us to at least get something to supplement that income. And so he decided to go to truck driving school and get his, you know, CDL so he would start driving. So we actually ended up in the trucking business because my husband became a CDL holder and started driving for another company. And in the midst of driving, we had some stuff happen in the midst of driving. We were kind of thrown into starting our own company because the company that he was in, for it was a situation that happened where they let him go. And then God opened up the door. We walked right into an opportunity to become independent contractors. So that's how we ended up in that. It was not my first choice. Yeah. People see me now and they're like, how are you in trucking? And it was not my first choice, but I can tell you today it has been very lucrative. And I am really continuing right now and digging my heels in to become even more of a player in the industry, because it has afforded us a lifestyle, and we have a son in college now. So it's been an amazing journey.
I would be remiss if I don't ask this question, because I don't think it wasn't clear to me.
Okay.
Do you have your CDLs as well, or?
No, I do not have my CDL. It's actually on the list, and every time that I've thought about or tried to go get it, it just has not been the best situation for our family, for me. But exactly, now that my sons are older, it's on the list for me.
You know, that brings up a whole nother thing that you know, it's been on my mind for several years, and it's kind of dictated some of the things that I've done over the years and everything. When you have family like that, you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to raise them, and you're trying to be around and be in their life and all of that. It kind of, some people would just say, you know, forget about it. I'm just going to go hardcore into, you know, whatever my endeavor is. And I'm you know, a lot of times I see repercussions on the back end when you do that. Even though you may prosper with whatever that endeavor is, seems to always be an issue on the back end with your kids and your family. So when you don't, right, you know what I'm talking about, right? So
I'm amazed that you brought that up, but go ahead and finish. I definitely have some thoughts.
No, I'm just saying, because I live it, and I've lived it, and I still live it, where you just kind of have to, like, I guess, you know, being raised in a household where my dad wasn't there, and, you know, it was just my mom, and then she was in the military and she traveled, and you just kind of seem like you're just by yourself, you know, to a degree. And, you know, I always thought in the back of my head, I was like, if I ever have kids, you know, I'm going to make sure that I'm there and I can interact in their life and make sure that they're getting that moral and that I want to say, I'm gonna make up a word now, parenting support that they need. You know what I mean? So when I was traveling a lot, it just seemed I could just see the changes of that when you're absentee and you're not in their life, and it's a problem. It's a problem. And it was just interesting that you mentioned that just now, because it's something that I often think about. And even when I look at other people's lives, I try not to judge, but you can't help to see, because you know, you have it in yourself and you're experiencing yourself. But I digress. Go ahead to you. Go. What were you going to say?
I definitely appreciate you, you know, bringing that up and noticing what I was saying, because I have mentioned plenty of times when people ask about our company, one of the reasons why we have selectively grown our fleet so that I and my husband and myself could be in a certain place with our boys, you know. And so people ask me now, like, well, what are y'all doing, or what do you have? And I tell them all the time, that was a selected choice for us, because there are consequences, but we're all different. And we all want different things. Now we know that there's some statistical stuff that they say of what happened with children with 2-parent homes or 1-parent home. I do not knock anyone for doing what it is, what they believe they had to do. I can speak from my personal experience. I never wanted to be away from my children working and regret that I was there. So we shaped, or let's say we curated our lives. We created the culture where we all could thrive in it. And a lot of times people are not able to do that because they don't know. We don't see that far ahead. We don't understand.
Right.
In order to do that, you have to understand your purpose and their purpose. Because at some point in time, and I talk about this now, I have a mothering group that I'm doing now, and I've really been blowing it up on Clubhouse, new app, and talking about it. But I share that with the moms. It's like, you have to understand the purpose of your child, because at some point, their purpose has to become more important than yours. And to the point that you have to basically see your part in it. And so my children, they were in different phases of life that I recognized, where at one point they needed me more, then it went to where they needed their father more. And then by the time we got to that, they were so used to having both of us around, we didn't change that. And to this day, we have the sons and young men that everywhere we go, people are like, oh, they're amazing, and they're great. My son just got one of the highest awards on his football team for character, because because of his character and who he is. And so, not saying that other children don't have character because their parents work. I'm speaking strictly from the decisions that we made. So every time, there was plenty of opportunities. I used to get calls and emails like, okay, if you got 10 trucks over here, we got an export thing going down in Savannah, bring your trucks over here. Every time. So we had to make careful decisions so that nothing would pull us away from what we wanted in our home. And it was important. It has to be important to you. It was important for me, for my family to sit down every day and eat. It was important for me to cook all 3 of those meals. So it's just, and I didn't necessarily grow up like that. It's just, those are the things that I wanted. We designed everything on purpose except family, honestly.
You know what? That's a strong statement and everything. And I think a lot of times that I know we get a little bit off track from our how we're set up here, but I think it's an important conversation that we're having right now, because a lot of people maybe they think about it in passing and everything, but I think it deserves a closer analyzation of what it is. I don't think people look at their life close enough. I think people, a lot of times, they just kind of float through. You have to really examine what you're doing and how you are moving and everything. Do not take for granted. Go ahead.
It's called family planning for a reason. We just never do it. And we don't understand what family planning is. And I can tell you, honestly, I didn't get that from my mom, but that ability that was in me. To me, it's the love that I wanted to give.
And you know what? That's another thing. I didn't get it from anyone either. It's just kind of like, hey, this seems like the right thing to do. It seems like the right thing to do.
Wisdom says, you were able to look at what you had and then what you did not get, and you made an assessment of what you needed to be for your children. And that's wisdom. A lot of people, and it takes a selfless person to do that. One of the things that I hear all the time, and I don't like hearing it, and I try to walk women through it. I don't like hearing a mom saying, I have lost myself in my children. And I always tell them, I said, no, you have not lost yourself in your children. You just forgot to define yourself. Because how do you lose yourself in your children when they came out of you? So we have this notion as women, and I know it's from society, that we lose ourselves because we have to give up ourselves in order to raise our children. And that's not true. Raising your children should be just as much of a strong desire and purpose as the career you're pursuing, the man you're pursuing, the coins in the bags you're pursuing. But somehow this attitude and this culture of, these kids raising themselves actually has, I don't know, we have to change it, because it's going to help. I believe it would definitely help women stop feeling like you lost yourself in your children, when Listen, no, you get to raise productive citizens today. These people around here acting crazy.
Well, you know what? I mean, to that point, to what you said. And I gotta follow you on Clubhouse, by the way. I gotta follow you. I'm gonna find you on there. I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna jump into your to your thing to see what y'all talking about.
Interesting, and it's interesting to me because I end up with a lot of millennials and Gen Z in the room, and I can tell that they're hurting because a lot of what I'm giving them they did not get, and they don't know how to give it to their children, and they're because they feel like they can't do this hustle that's going on. It takes to be them, it takes a lot because they're hustling in this social internet society. So it's a lot to keep up with that social media and a household and a husband. And they feel like they're failing because something is always slipping. And so it's, you know, it's every bit of what we're saying. Family planning.
Yeah, this is a really deep conversation. I mean, it really is. This is a really deep conversation because, you know, a lot of the stuff that you're touching on, I mean, each little topic, I can see us going this way. I can see us talking about it this way. It's a really intricate
it's a lot more
topic.
Very
interesting.
That's why my brand is Mothering While Fabulous, because I want people to understand that mothering is a fabulous thing. Mothers are fabulous.
It is. It really is. Hey, look.
You made a good statement, though.
Fathering is a fabulous thing as well.
Yes.
Y'all take us for granted, man. We go through. We be having some stresses on us that y'all don't even know about.
I don't want no misconceptions about me sitting right here. I'm a lifter, lover, cheerleader, and supportive of my kings, my Black kings. I do not take my husband for granted. You would never hear me say Happy Mother's Day on Father's Day, even if he wasn't here, because I understand that I'm raising two African-American men, and I will not see them devalued at any cost. How can I say I love my sons and I devalue their father?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So and that's the thing that we have to work on. I teach people all the time. You can lift yourself up and not devalue someone else. So when I speak about mothers, make no mistake, I'm not devaluing a father. That's just one of my purpose. What I believe I've been called to do is to show and help moms be the best mom that they can be without feeling like they got shorted or jilted, you know, in a relationship. Because you have maternal nurturing abilities, you're mad because you seem like you're the only one doing all the nurturing. So there just needs to be a level of respect.
The other thing I noticed when you were talking about millennials and Gen X, I think a lot of them hustle backwards. They get a lot so fast, then they go back and try to figure out how to deal with it. So when you're out there hustling and you're getting this money and then you have the kids, you don't know what to do with anything because everything came so fast. So you were able to move and navigate, not have the struggles that I guess our generation had. So when I see them and they're talking to us, they're trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? So they skip some steps and now they have all this, but they don't know what to do with it.
And to be honest, we see it different from what we did because it's on social media and it's moving fast. But if you talk to anyone, and I don't know deeply your story, but a lot of the people I know, successful people I know, millionaire that I know, most of them stumbled into their success. And they can look back and honestly, that's how I'm able to advise them and tell them what to do, because I can look back and I can do what I said. I can look back at what worked and what did not. And now I can give to them and assimilate an answer that can help them because I'm able to do that. Now, there are some things that, you know, our parents probably believed in, you know, you're going to work that little job over here before you go do this, and it's not going to be fast. That part is true. But a lot of us, you know, you start stuff, you didn't, and I'll speak, and I'm going to speak for our peoples, particularly African-American women. We didn't get business schools. Our parents didn't hand us down businesses. We didn't grow up in the family business and learn how to run it. A lot of us start businesses just straight out, not even having any information. And then as we learn as we went, so they're doing it now. It's just sped up because of the internet and social media. So where we come in, yes, we can slow it all down for them, because now through our experiences, we can see immediately what's wrong with that. We can see immediately what you need to add to that. And the key is, though, it doesn't work for all of them. And I think that's the hard part. You have to recognize you cannot skip purpose. Everyone is not a hairdresser. Everyone is not a makeup artist. Everyone is not a reality TV star. So if you don't understand your purpose, you're going to live in the land of Averageville because you're trying to be someone else. It's okay if your career is not popular on social media. Make it pop. Be the best, of who you are.
Well, I'm reading a book by Elon Musk right now, right? And he said something that was very intriguing to me. It made a whole lot of sense though, and a lot of times we don't think about things in this way.
Okay.
He was talking about how innovation has eluded us in this generation.
Okay.
And to be more detailed about that is he said he looked at statistics in the patent market, how the number of patents have went down. And people patent things when they create something that's new.
That's new.
Or a different process, innovation. He says it's went down. I haven't looked at it myself, but I'll take his word for it. He said it's went down. So he referenced part of the problem is the Facebooks and the Instagrams and stuff like that. So now it's became more important to develop the next app or get 1 million followers on social media to chase the financials market and everything instead of innovating, which is causing us to fall behind to a degree, or to a great degree, because the innovation is not there anymore. The mind shift. Go ahead.
I said I can believe it when I just think about the computer age and how the microchip and how fast it went light years into development because they were constantly innovating and making it better from the motherboards and all of that. And now when you think about even with Apple now, you always had something to look forward to that was going to be the next innovative thing and for them to improve upon. So there are a lot of indicators that can tell you in that area, even just in the STEM and those technology areas and how they're fighting to get certain groups of people into that. So I can imagine that there could be some truth to that. I think I've read something like that also. And it wouldn't surprise me because honestly, I have to speak for my circle because I quickly realized that who you follow on social media is what's happening in Clubhouse. It can shape your view if you're not careful.
That is correct.
If people don't do what I do, like when I log on to social media right now, because I started social media because I was on reality TV and I really started getting into it because it was a part of our platform. We had to be on there. We had to talk about our show. We had to push our brand, which is ourselves. So my circle became entertainment, reality TV, rappers, hip hop stars. So every day when I log on, that's what's on my feed. So if I didn't have my business side, that the corporate side that takes me into trucking, that is all I would know. That's all I would know about women. But at the same time, I was doing that on social media. I would go sit in a 7-figure club CEO suite room with other women. And so that becomes the danger of a group of people. If that's all they know, their culture is now shaped. So they try to operate a fit in that culture. So now you have duplicate, hip hop stars, a duplicate YouTubers, and that just seems like the only thing that's happened in life, what makes you say, okay, where are the STEM studies? Where are the doctors and the Lord? They're out there. It's just really what, if you look at the majority, it's a divide. There's a.
But that's straight to the point that he made. He said there's so many smart people out there right now, but they're not innovating in that way anymore. They're innovating toward how can I get more followers on Facebook? They're trying to figure out the algorithms and all of this type of stuff. They're trying to develop the next app that's going to, do stuff and everything, instead of the physical innovations that pushed us into the space age and all that type of stuff and everything. It's lost because the focus of what it is has shifted. So
it equates to money because they know it. I go into rooms and they're like, well, you have to post this many times and get 4 likes and then it'll ship you in this algorithm. They know it, you know, that's because it equates to money. You have a lot of 21
Right.
making
He
millions.
made direct reference to that. The financials, getting the money, all of that type of stuff is shifted. The mindset is shifted.
The coins in the bank.
That's what it's about.
Well, I would say, do I knock that? No, I don't knock them into the coins and get into the bags at all. But at the same time, there are certain cultures and certain generations and certain parts that are focusing on certain areas, and then it becomes a problem. Now you begin to say the man and they're not looking out for us, but you don't understand. This is how I felt about the political arena now, and I hope we understand it as a people, is that now you need to think more about who you're raising. Are you raising a councilman, a congressman? We have to focus on that, because now we know that's what shapes our community and our culture. Everybody can't raise the next rapper. Everybody can't raise the next actress. Okay, so if we're going to truly see change, and I didn't understand that till later. When my kids was growing up, I knew I had to be in the school, so I became the PTO president. But knowing what I know now, I would have went after the school council, and then the school board. I would have gone after those things had I known. So it's important to our culture now, and I speak for my culture because I can't really speak on other cultures, is that we ourselves in our homes have to look at, take Georgia for instance. Georgia was strategically turned, to a blue state because of strategy. So now there are middle schoolers or high schoolers that are learning now. Just think what happens if they're on the school council, or they're the judges sitting in there that are judging our sons when they go in for a traffic ticket, or judging our daughters when they go in for a traffic ticket. And just think what happens when we on purpose shape the municipal and the local. If we shape that in our communities, then we shape the police departments, we shape the mayor, governors.
That's right.
So that's the trajectory that I want for our people, that we're diversified. We shouldn't just be winning in sports and football and basketball.
That is correct.
We have to win.
Matter of fact, Creech and I had that same conversation today, because we were talking about Master P and how he's going into all these different venues. He was like, why aren't we represented in all these other products that are out there and everything? We use the products, but we don't have any representation in those products and everything. Why not us too? You see what I'm saying? So,
the second thing that we did with this election, we have to stand up and support. So and this is just my opinion. That
I'm sure I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree with you up front before you say it. Go ahead and say it.
I was gonna say, we have to, as our people and our culture, we have to do some things on the inside of our culture so that we can respect and really want our appreciate our gifts and our abilities, because somewhere we were taught that Black was not good enough, or that Black is the ghetto version, or your shirt is the ghetto version, your grocery store is the ghetto version. And we, when you look at the word of what ghetto is, I can see why you think that's bad, but maybe we shouldn't be calling our stuff the ghetto, because many of us don't live in the ghetto. There are actually ghettos that exist, but the ghetto, it's a place, but we've turned a place into a culture. And so it's important that in order for that to happen, what Master P is saying, it goes back to the family unit. If we begin to teach love and respect for ourselves and our culture and who we are and what we contribute to this world, our kids will grow up loving that. They'll grow up loving our culture. And it is a thin line, because we have so many infractions, because we have natural hair women upset because of the women who press their hair. We have to learn how to love all of us.
Right.
Even
Absolutely.
though I choose to do something different with my hair than you do, that does not make me less African American than you.
That's right.
The more respect we have for ourselves, we're going to respect the product that we put out. We're going to respect our culture, because it's so many of us saying, I love Black, but our communities would show the love for Blacks if it was really that much. We would have we would have what they had back in, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, where they had the whole city and they were doing so well that they came and burned it down. Wall Street, I think.
Yeah, Black Wall Street.
Like, you know, those people had pride and they were able to work together and put things aside so they can have their own place. And it's an inner work. Do I believe it has started? Yes. Do I believe that there are pockets all around the world that are doing just that? Yes. Those are the things that we need to promote. We need to bring those people to the front because they systematically know how to get it done. But that's why we can say we need everyone. We need the moms that are at home. We need the moms that are working. We need the fathers that are at home. We need the fathers that are working. We need the NFL players. We need the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, the drivers. We need all of us to work together and have pride in what we're producing so that I'd be the first to admit there was a time where I would always second guess before I bought a product from a Black store. And that's just the truth. It was based off systematically what I had been taught and experienced. I've been in an industry where I've had so many African-American men and women working for me. And that's a whole nother subject we can talk about because I don't want to talk about that right now, but.
Well, I already know it's hard working with other people sometimes.
African-American, and this is just an experience. And I didn't have it with any other company. So I don't want anybody to say, well, what happened with that company? I did not have this experience with any other company. And I hired him because I wanted to. I want to support, this African-American made company. He came in, they scratched up my walls and everything, had a problem with me talking about it. He basically went to my husband, was like, your wife, he acted like we were doing him a favor. Like we were not,
right.
Like he was like, she don't respect me. I'm a man. She not. What does that have to do with you coming in, bringing my furniture in, and not, it was a hot mess, and I will say that. And so,
that's something else I have a real stickler for is the professionalism. If whenever you're doing business like that, I mean, it's one thing to be social, but when we're conducting business, especially with each other, the professionalism has to come on top and everything. You know what I mean?
Anyone, but it's I can tell you from my experience, that's what happened. I don't want to think that there aren't businesses out there, but that's the experience that I have. And I'm not selecting certain things now when I buy. I'm always going to look for what I'm familiar with to work and come in my home, but that's the experience I had. And we have to just be better about it. We have to want better and do better. You can't get upset with me because I'm going to treat everybody the same. You come in my house and mess up my floors and my walls, I don't care what color you are. I am going to get in you and you're going to get it fixed. That's just who I am. I'm not a respecter of persons like that. But it saddened me to see how he felt. And my husband was real good because he definitely don't like when people refer to me as she. So when that she came out, I was like, oh Lord, let me see what's gonna happen. My sons have done that a couple times. Who is she? But anyway, at the end of the day, we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go in terms of internal unity. And this is the other thing that I do believe. One of the things that I realize is that our core leadership has not been established, because as we went through this past summer in 2020, it was so many pockets of leadership that stood up that didn't want the same thing. They were at each other. I think we'll see true progress if we get some core leaderships, even though they could be in sub corners, but we're all demanding the same thing. You have our people, one person over here saying defund the police, and you got another one saying it a different way, and then they going at it. That's an infraction. That can hurt us. So we have to find, and differences shouldn't bring a whole culture down. We can have, right, but that level of respect has to be, the respect has to be for the culture and the cause.
Absolutely.
It has to be for the culture and the cause. I'll leave that at that because I know we have 100 more questions. What I just shared with you guys, I rarely share.
This stuff is deep. This is deep conversation.
Let me get back to
every word that
where
I
was going with this, because you kind of.
Wait a minute, we don't want to talk about that. Hold on, we're going to talk now. Go ahead. I'm messing with you.
In dealing with that. And so when I speak, it puts me in a certain place. Judging on the facts, they don't understand how to take media that's segmented and look at the total picture, because this is what we're talking about is specific and it's specific things. But when you put the totality together, you'll see the big picture. And we don't operate a lot in the big picture. We want to pick and choose. Well, you said that. Like, oh, you talked about that black man's company and well, you don't know how many African-American men. I'm putting a couple through college right now and I'm doing these different. So it's just, that's what happens with media. I'm a big girl, I can handle it, but I just choose to always talk about my platform and what I'm doing, because those are the things that I'm prepared to stand for and put my foot down for. You're not gonna catch me too much trying to stamp down on political things unless I am advocating for a law to change to help human trafficking victims or my African-American children or prison reform, things like that. So I'm just a believer that there are people who I can have an opinion, but there are people who are called to stand up and hash that out front. So I would prefer to leave that to them. And so, I got into I was chastising my nephew on social media because he had made this post insinuating that President Biden was not doing something. And so I went on and I got on him. And then I know it's somebody who follows me because they hurry up and jumped in. Can you elaborate on that, Carla? I said what I said, and I was chastising my nephew, and that's all I'm going to say.
You get into reality TV? That's the question. And the way that you got in there, doing motherhood, it was all about motherhood and taking that and making that your. How did that happen?
It happened by me doing exactly what I've been talking about. I was focusing on my family, my children, and their needs. And I actually took my sons to, at the time they wanted to be models and they wanted to act. So I took them to a local modeling school here, which happens to be owned by Cynthia Bailey, who was on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I started kind of being in that circle where my children were, she was getting them booked to do certain things and they were training and learning from her. And so I made a few friends and I was out and about, and executives and producers saw me and wanted to interview me for being on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And so I started interviewing to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta and was going back and forth. They came, I did similar like Zoom like this, then they came in the house with a camera. I made it all the way down to that last end, waiting on that phone call to come in, and I got the phone call. And the first thing they was like, Carla, we have good news, we have bad news. Which way you want it? I said, it really doesn't matter to me. They're like, well, the bad news is we are not going to put you on the Housewives of Atlanta. And the good news is because we want to give you your own show. And it came like that. Mind you, this is, I can tell you hindsight in this situation, because at that time, I did not understand the magnitude of what was really happening to me. So much so that I hesitated to respond. And the producer on the phone said, no, girl, let me help you out. Look, what we are offering you, there's not one housewife on Bravo right now that does not want what we're about to give to you. And I was like, oh, okay, well then let's do it then if that's the case. And so I didn't have the benefit of the understanding that I have now of what they really meant. But so I started on my journey and I said, yes, I'll do it. And so the show was based around my life, and it was called Mother Funders, based on the fact that I had been the parent teacher organization president, raising funds for our local elementary school. And they wanted to feature that on their network, feature me doing what I was doing, raising my children, loving my man, and running my company.
Now, Carla, now you said something, and I would be remiss if I don't go back and ask you. Okay. You said that you didn't know what it meant. So can you elaborate on that a little bit, as far as what did it mean that you did not tell us just now? What did you mean by that?
I'm going to start off by explaining it to how I just met a producer who worked for my production company at one time. And when she met me, I'm going to tell you what she said. This is what I did. She said, for me, to have gotten my own show offered by that company that I had to be something special, because that was unheard of. Unheard of because I literally was a walk-in off the street. I was a walk-in off the street, not a talent that was there before. You don't get your own show in reality TV that way. And secondly, you're not a producer on that show. I have producer credits. If you check the credits on my show, I am a consultant producer. And I was set to get executive producer credit the second season, the way it was set up, but for legal reasons, we didn't get a second season. So I didn't understand the value of that then. I did not understand it, but I understand it now, because those producer credits for one of the top, I would say, network for reality series like that, Bravo, it opened doors for me now. That's how powerful that moment was when I said yes to that. I hate that we didn't get our second season for those reasons, but that was a blessing to be that personality. So not only did I get credit as a personality, I was credited for the production, because a lot of people don't know the behind the scene work of me. I pulled the cast together for that show. I laid out the groundwork for how the show, it was basically, it mimicked my life of who I was, and how if you look at my show, every household was kind of following a line of my household. Right. And so, not that some of them didn't do those things for real in their house, but the show was shaped off of my life. And at that time, I did not understand what.
Yeah, because
I would say this, of course, back then, we could not actually say how everything came about, just right. Because it's the image you put out there, and you're protecting the show. And so we needed people to form their own opinions about us and how the show was. Now I can tell people, this was my situation. People always say, hindsight, do you regret not taking the housewives over this? And I say no, because still to this day, there are some housewives who don't have producer credit on a Bravo network show, or who have even gotten their own show. So no, I do not have any regrets about that part.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that, because it's a lot of them that have been doing these shows for years and years and have never been offered their own show. They may get a wedding, 6 shows for a wedding if they're getting married, something like that here and there. But to walk in the way you did and kind of surpass what some people have been waiting for on and off for 5-6 years. I mean, that's a testament to your credit of who you were as a person. Not to mention the fact that you did it as a mother. Like, a lot of those shows aren't about true family values and how we're doing this. Is who's going to be the most salacious, who's going to throw what drink, and who's going to be mad at who the most. So the way that your show kind of developed to kind of bring that whole family value back, because we don't have the Cosby Show. The closest thing we got to the Cosby Show now is like Blackish, just showing Black people in a good light, living a good life, being able to raise their kids.
And that goes back to kind of what we were talking about before,
right.
Because we have to want to see that. I can't even tell you how much hell I caught from all kinds of people, but it meant more when it came from my people about me. And you may be familiar with this, because this goes around in our community. The pretty Black girl with the husband and the children and the beautiful house, they thought my house was fake. They thought I was fake. They were called stuck up and snobby because they were not used to seeing me on TV. So I had to be this snobby Black girl who was the B word that right. I was refrain from saying. So we just have to want to see it. And when it comes to these types of docuseries, because there's all types of reality TV, yeah. When it comes to these, there's a method, it's a part of our culture and community now, because there's TV that people look at so they can enjoy it. There's TV that people look at so they can feel better about themselves. And a lot of reality TV falls into that. You just kind of, you have to give it its genre. You have to give it its props for what it's doing. But you have to if you don't offset it and come at your culture in a way that it does not become the culture, that's when it becomes dangerous. Because to be honest, I don't know if it's art imitating life, but even just when I grow up, when I think about my life with my mom, there were plenty of fights. There were plenty of things. my mom was fighting. So it's just one of those things that, you know, what really goes on in some homes was brought forth in a way that people are making money off of it, but it was never meant to be the only thing about our culture. Because at some point we have to think about the generations though. What do they have time to sit down and watch? What do they take the time to watch? So if it's about me, I got all the likes, I got all the followers, of course I want to sit down and look at people that I feel like have more problems than me. Yeah, they got money, but, and that's what they said, they had to find something wrong with me. So they'll say,
Of course.
So she pretty and all, but she mean, she nasty, she'll be, because that's what that demographic who watches those type of shows, that's what gets them going in a lot of cases. But just like everything else, everything has a season. I believe that the audience now are being trained and shaped in other areas. I don't dog reality TV in the sense, because I know what it did for me, and it's a platform. And what people fail to realize is that that part that's shown on TV is not the totality of those people. And some of those situations are on the show, they happen on the show, but a lot of them are real situations that if you were forced in a situation and you had to fix it in a short time, and you had to handle this situation, and then you dealt with it last year, and then you started filming, they have to bring it back. That's the reality of what happens in reality TV. So I have opinions going both ways. I cannot knock it, because it's a platform. It allowed me to be able to push my platform in the fight against human trafficking. And I'm actually still in it and working on projects. And so it's a platform that I want to be able to utilize it to the benefit. So, you know, it's more work that needs to be done in all of this TV realm.
Absolutely. And we're getting ready to get into the whole advocacy of human trafficking. But I just wanted to ask you this one question before we leave the reality world. What went into you actually casting, you know, the people that you, because that's got to be a big thing if it's going to be a show and you want these people to come in and have a good representation. What went into casting?
It was actually easy for me, because from my understanding and where I wanted to be, I spoke with the production company, and it was important for me that I dealt with real people. It had to be real people in my community, and people who were doing what I was doing, which was my real parent teacher organization board. And there were opportunities. There were so many people reaching out to me that wanted to be on the show. And I just said, I'm not going to be a part of a fake show. You have to be in my community. You have to be serving on my parent teacher organization, because the show is about me and my life and what we do as a PTO organization. So for me, it was easy. And I think a lot of first seasons are easy because they're probably the realest seasons that you'll ever get. So that's what went into the initial part. And then I don't say it just so happened, but we really had characters. There were some amazing characters that were in my neighborhood. That's the brilliant thing about it, that these women were amazing. And the reason why they were amazing to me, because they were women that I would see at the school all the time, just as much as I would. And every time I held an event, they would be there supporting and volunteering. And we had similar likes in that way. And they made excellent TV personality. Only one that I really loved and I really was rooting for and thought she would make, you know, I wanted her to be on the show. And, you know, that's where the other side comes in casting. Everything has to work, you know, as there's some responsibility in that. They didn't feel like her life lined up with ours to the point where, you know, if you're shooting all this behind me and then you shoot down and she's in a 1-bedroom apartment with 9 people kind of thing. So, you know, she couldn't continue with the show, but that's the business side of it. You know, I was able to really work with the people that, and let's see, all but maybe 1 or 2 live directly in my neighborhood.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. It started off great. It started off great. Let's just say that.
Well, you know, business is business. So when you start out in the business, you can only hold it together and hope for the best. And it's like making that soup. You know, when you get ready to make a soup sometime, you got all these things. You're like, I'm gonna put this in here, and I'm gonna put this in here, and everything tastes good at first, and then you might add that one little ingredient. And as the time goes on and you heat it up a little bit too much, you're like, I don't know about this, you know. So it happens. But I mean, I watched some of the episodes of the show, and what I liked about you guys, you were, again, it was that family oriented. Everybody has problems with if you put anybody on TV and you let them live their life, you're going to see some problems, because that's what life is. You know, you're not always going to agree, whether you're married for 10 years or 10 minutes. You're not going to agree on everything. You're not always going to like the things your kids do, even if they're good kids. They're going to do stuff, things that are wrong. It's just that nature of living real life. Things go wrong.
I'm going to give you some behind the scenes secret to that.
Okay.
The struggle, if you watch my show, a lot of the struggle that you were seeing had everything to do with my commitment to the school and the school board, because as the president, I had to sit down with them and guarantee and tell them what the show was about and what was going to happen. Right. We were a real organization. We had real bylaws. And so everything that I fought for is what they were trying to do that were not allowed in the school bylaws. So a lot of the friction you saw was behind me fighting to protect that. And it made good TV because people thought I was just an anal asshole. But in all honesty, I was the only one dealing with the school superintendent and the school attorney. And, and at the end of the day, when the show got in trouble, I'm the only one that was getting sued by the county. I'm the only one that got threatened with the IRS audit. So what people saw was my struggle with, the fact that I agreed to be on this show, but I also agreed to protect the school and represent the school, which is something that I had done for many years. And I didn't want that to change, regardless of what I thought or how I thought. I had to represent the school correctly. And so things kind of got sideways, and that's ultimately how we basically ended up not being back for a second season.
Yeah, and like I said, I watched a couple of episodes. I'm not big on a lot of reality TV. For the most part, I've watched it over the years here and there. It depends on what's on, but I found it, when I see something, especially reality TV, and it's something that's positive and it's shaping like it's real life, it's close to real life, Love and Hip Hop and all those. I mean, those are entertaining. I take nothing away from them in that. Some of the things that they go through, it is real, especially in music. I did music years ago. I understand some of the things that they have to deal with your producers, with trying to get your label to put your stuff out. So a lot of that stuff is genuine to what they go through. But I also I remember when T.I. and Tiny had their show. I enjoyed their show because it was a family-oriented show that you got a chance to see their kids as characters, and they had some kids that were really characters, and they kind of grew up in that. So
we had families, and our kids were real characters. That was what I was the most excited for, that people could get to see them develop. And in the early stages, I remember the producers coming back to my house asking to film more with my children, because in their market study that they did, the children reacted to my boys so well. So I was really looking forward to that side of it. And I understand what you're saying. And I think we say reality TV, but we're speaking about specific shows as it relates to our community, because, there are game shows that are reality TV. Mm-hmm. There are ID channel, some of those are considered reality TV. But we start to think about that genre or that model that puts that pressure where there's going to be an explosive fight somewhere, or that, mm-hmm. It's a profit model. So if we look at it from that standpoint, it's out there. And I don't get into, we can talk about things, but at the end of the day, there are different types of reality shows beyond the ones that are groups of people showing their highest moment of heat, or what do we call it? The highest moment of conflicts. And, that's, in some cases, that's what makes great TV, because when you're talking about a 1-hour show and you have all of these lives together, nobody wants to sit through 10 people, the boring parts of their day. Right. So to go from high point to high point to high point. It's really, now that I have been working on creating shows, I understand the dynamics when you're talking about putting together a show and then having a storyline that people will follow, you know. So at the end of the day, if I slapped you, you may not get, I'm just saying, if I slapped you, you may see the slap, but you don't get to see all 10 episodes of how it led up to that slap or what happened. Although, you know, I didn't end up slapping anybody, and the people were all up in my face like this with their phone. But honestly, that's what my production and Bravo liked about me. They were like, oh my God, you're an African-American woman that can read without being angry. Like, that's, you know, I'm like, I've done the work to be who I am. And little girl is not going to get me out of my character that I worked so hard to be, you know. So, you know, it's so many things we could talk about and so many ways that we can go. But what I like now is there's some recognition. There are a lot of African American producers, production assistants behind the camera. There's so many people making their way right now that I'm really proud of, and that they're moving things to us. You know, I take Oprah Winfrey I remember how people talked about Oprah Winfrey so much, and some things they didn't like, but Oprah Winfrey eventually got to a point where you could tell she was truly controlling what she did when she went on that stage, who she brought on. And then it just got to the point where, you know, Oprah was having people on and saying stuff that we had never seen her do.
Absolutely.
Why?
Yep.
She understood how to get her audience. She understood where she needed to be, where she could have the ownership of what would go out over her network or any network. So I think that, you know, we have to understand where we are and also where we are going, and take the good with the bad and come up with something new.
I mean, just meeting you, of course, you seem like a woman of very, very high character. So I applaud you for that, first of all. Definitely, you know, family oriented. So how did you get into the advocacy of human trafficking? I know that's one of your, you know, your babies, one of the things that you're proud of, one of the things that you fight for. How did you get into that space?
It started with my local church, like so much of my life. My husband, you know, and just that desire to be the woman that I am. And it started the same way. I had been working with young girls. I worked in the youth ministry, and my specialty was young women and or women's ministry. And I had a desire. It's so funny because I had this desire. I had gotten a call out of Macon, Georgia from a dear friend of mine who was telling me that it was like an epidemic. There were so many young girls on the street into prostitution, and he wanted me to come and start some kind of ministry and start working with them. And it just struck out to me so hard. I remember I called my first lady, and amazing enough, she had been dealing with the same desire about doing something. And I said to myself, well, you know what? This is where I am. Whatever she starts, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to do what she does. So she started a ministry called Prestige Ministry. And we started out by going into the strip clubs or exotic dancer clubs and just being a resource for the women that were in there at the time. You know, eventually I think we began to focus on some of the men, but our main part in the beginning was the women. And yeah, because we recognized we had to talk to, you know, buyers, sellers, pimps, you know, we realized that they need help too. Okay. So, you know, we started out and we would go once a month at some point into the clubs. We would go walk the strips, Old National Highway, Fulton Industrial Parkway, and we would be talking to the ladies on the streets in the clubs. And it didn't take long for me to find out that there was an undercurrent happening, that a lot of the ladies that were in the clubs or on the streets were not there by choice. And when I found out that many times that was the danger in us going into the clubs, is because there was a pimp or a trafficker sitting back watching us talking to their ladies, and it was somewhat offensive. Not somewhat, it was offensive. And so we had to start taking security and everything. And once I found out about that, we started working with an organization called Wellspring Living. And so I went and took their training, and I found out more about it. And then I found out about this horrible, horrible crime that was taking place. And it wasn't just international. Because prior to this, when I heard human trafficking, I never thought United States of America. I never thought College Park, Georgia. I never thought Marietta or Gwinnett or Dunwoody. And so being exposed and seeing just how close it was, it became a part of my heart's cry or my desire. And I knew it, I had a purpose in the fight. So I started, working and serving in the organization that I was in. I started working and serving with Wellspring Living. And then I started just working and serving wherever I could find. And then I ended up, after that, getting on TV. And once I got on TV and used that platform, it opened up for me to have a few initiatives of my own. And one of the things that I started immediately after TV was an initiative called Celebs Against Human Trafficking. And it was an initiative that I created because what I realized is that our people in particular, were just not aware. And not only were they not aware, they had no sense of belief that our girls and our boys would be trafficked, because African American girls and boys are just grown. They're just fast. They're just hot and just being
Right.
they just nappy headed and all those things that we tell ourselves about our children, and desensitize ourselves to the fact that they could be hurting or that the neighbor could be prostituting them, and we don't believe them. They just want to hang out at night. So it was so many narratives that I was made aware of, and I knew I had to do something.
Carla, let me ask you a question real quick while you into that topic. A lot of people, when we hear about, sex trafficking and everything, we hear about these things, and with so much public talk surrounding this, and all of that, we start to become a little bit numb to it when we hear sex trafficking, and we just kind of blow it, to the side and everything, not a real concentration on it. Is there any way that you can elaborate and give us a more intense feeling of how bad that it is? Is there any way you could elaborate on it and give us something so we can really feel, hey, this is a serious issue?
Trafficking as a whole is $150 billion industry. It's a crime industry that brings in that kind of profit. So that tells you the magnitude of what's really happening. So the thing that I do, and I can tell you what I've kind of zoned in on, because I recognize that I can't be everything and all things for everybody. So I had to get specialized on my gifts and my abilities, which is awareness. And so in teaching that awareness, I narrowed it down. When Wellspring Living came to me after my show, and they did something that they had never done. They came to a celebrity and they wanted a celebrity brand ambassador. They didn't just want any celebrity brand ambassador. They wanted an African American celebrity brand ambassador, because they themselves recognized that more and more our children were the victims of sex trafficking, yet over 85% of the people that were helping them were not African American, and that it was causing some issues with their restoration, their rehabilitation, because the people who were helping them oftentimes looks like the people who were buying them for sex.
Right.
So I was asked, Carla, come and help us put a face and help us get more support from the African American community, from volunteers to financial support, because it's our girls. And so even more so, what makes, the things that we love about our community are the things that makes our girls a flavor, a taste. It's the big booty, little waist, big breast kind of thing that makes our girls a flavor. And the seriousness, it's the seriousness of it is that our children are being sold for sex. That should be enough. They're being sold for sex. Some of them, and it's not what we think. A lot of people, now they can be snatched and they can be kidnapped and all of that, but it's primarily a psychological manipulation that takes place on social media. Your neighbor, You know, something huge that's happening right now, a lot of women are being used as mothers and madams to go out and recruiters to bait young girls into these parties that they have. You want to go party, I'm having a party, and it's a video party. It's go be on this set, go be on that set. And you don't realize that somebody's waiting there to drug your drink and you're not going to make it home. So, I mean, it's serious in that I can say this right now. One of the issues is that it's a hidden crime. Less than about 1% victims are identified, because this is why I choose awareness. A part of that is because a lot of the victims don't know that they're victims. I had a conversation on Clubhouse the other night, and a survivor came in and she told the story, how she didn't know she was a victim of human trafficking because her boyfriend set her up in a masseuse. As she was the masseuse, he set her up in a massage shop, but he was advertising her out to people sexually to come in and get massages. And she was giving these sensual massages. And over time, she realized she was never getting any of the money. Now, in her case, she never had the sex part, but she was labor trafficking. So she was doing all these massages and never made any money. It took her a while to realize that she's a victim. So right now, the danger for us is right now, your daughter could be in a relationship with a man and don't recognize that he's convinced her that you're going to have sex with this guy for us. You know, for us, if you love us, and I owe him this. If you love me, you're going to do this. And she doesn't understand that she's just got called into a commercial sex act, and the next one is going to be deeper and deeper. It is a manipulating. You know, we don't understand that all of these designer bags and designer shoes, that's how the trafficker is getting your children, because they're telling your children that, you know, your parents can't afford that. They never gonna get you that Gucci. They never gonna get you that Fendi or all that. I can get you this if you come over here and do that. So it's serious for us for a lot of reasons, because children, you know, women and children, you know, always have that thing about being second-class citizens. So that's what's so dangerous about it, because we have predators preying on what have been seen as the second-class citizen, and they're taking advantage of that because they bank on us not caring. They bank on us thinking that children are just being sexual and they're doing this because they want to. And the danger, I think one of the dangers that I don't hear a lot about is how subtly it is engraved in a part of our culture, and in particularly the hip hop, the entertainment culture, because it's so, there's a rise of sex working, and there are some sex workers who choose to be sex workers, but it's dangerous because there are victims of human trafficking that are in the sex work industry, not by choice, and they're crossing paths and no one is doing anything about it. And so it's, you know, I can talk about many dangers in the fact that it's escalating, and it's escalating because I'm not gonna say it's easier to be a trafficker, but if you had the choice to sell a bag of heroin, and that once they use it, it's gone, and then you have to go get more to make money, versus a 9-year-old girl that can have sex over and over and over again and make you $31,000 in a year off one girl, versus $100 off one bag of heroin. What are you going to choose? It's dangerous to our community because more of our women and boys and men. I was so disappointed. Georgia had a bus not too long ago, and all of the faces were African American. They were African American women and men. Why? Because guess what? Those dope boys, those drug dealers, they become traffickers now. Because at one time the sentencing did not line up with the punishment. You got more time for drugs than you did for selling a girl. So those things have gotten better because of the fight, but that's the danger of it. More and more people are resorting to it because of the lucrativeness of it. And it's dangerous because we are losing our generation of children to a sex culture that is not healthy. There needs to be a distinction between what is sex trafficking and what is a sex worker and what is OnlyFans and what is all of the things that we adopt in our culture. And my job, I think, is to call it to the carpet that we have to answer. We cannot not promote this culture over here and continue to ignore the fact that our children are being sold into sex trafficking so somebody can make enough money to look like they're a rapper or to look like they're a baller. And so I feel like the people that are in those positions, not enough of us are crying out about human trafficking. So it's, you know, I mean, not their physical, the psychological damage that happens to a survivor, you know, the physical, they go to post-traumatic disorder because it's like being in war, constantly threatened that I'm going to kill your family, constantly threatened because you have to go out and have sex with different people all the time. So it's killing a generation of children. That's the damage. It's killing a generation of children. And it's, I think one of the biggest dangers for me is that it's too subtle in our community. One of the biggest needs right now is for individuals and companies and corporations to get involved in the fight for by changing their policies and their procedures. Because one of the things that USpark did a study, one of the things that they found out that most of the sex and the trafficking was bought between noon and 3 o'clock, which means that there's a greater chance that there's a person on at your job working for you right now using your company equipment to book sex for their lunch break and going out and having sex with a young victim.